My name is Werner Pfeiffer. I'm an artist, sculptor, printmaker. I live in Red Hook, New York. I was born just at the onset of Second World War and lived through the whole horror of this experience. It was scary because our house was bombed and we were sitting in the cellar and the upper stories burned down. So they had to rescue us from the basement, and we had to stay with neighbors for a couple of days until we found a place to live. I was teaching at Pratt at the time, and the towers are within a mile from the institute. Basically, we were seeing it and being in its shadow almost all the time. I used to drive, close to 2 or 3 decades over this same bridge, and whenever I got when I got on the day on the bridge, suddenly the traffic stopped on the other side, and it was quite remarkable because I could never remember that this happened. Accidents, occasionally, but then people they wind their way through. But here, people got out of their cars, stopped their cars, and they looked, and I couldn't stop, so I couldn't really make a point why everything shut down. And then when I got to campus, they told us, that this was what happened. And the first thing everybody did was went on the roof of the school, and it was just about 8:45, and then we saw the first tower in flames, and then the second plane, we could witness how it punched into the tower, and then we just stood there mesmerized and watched how the towers eventually collapsed, and the whole sky filled with smoke, and that really triggered old experiences, old memories from my childhood, and so they kept coming back. So I knew I had to do something, and it was not a question of if, but it was a question of when. I did immediately dozens and dozens, hundreds of small sketches, plotting out basically the idea how the victims, how the people must have been horrified and shocked and panicked when they fell to their death with the debris of the building. And so this is what eventually emerged into a huge drawing that I transferred into 2 large woodcuts, and the woodcuts took the shape of the 2 World Trade Center towers. The book I had in mind was very complicated, so I had to devise a method to really replicate it, to make an edition. And in order to do that, I resorted to printmaking technique, and being a printmaker, I found the woodcut really suited my temperament very much. So the way the book is built, it is cut into 7 segments. Each segment is built out of 2 parts of a woodcut until the almost upper part. And the upper part, the woodcut gets replaced by the typographic part, which is the names of the victims. From that point on, it was a question: how do I treat this architectural element so it's stable and it can still be folded back into a book form? And that was what took a long time, many trials and errors, until I finally came up with a form and a structure that the book has now, where it was essentially an inner architectural structure where you force the woodcut over this structure, and it was stable enough. There's a strong architectural component. I mean, when you think of it as a model for building, it's a replica of a memorial piece. There were 2 buildings. So I think for most of us, when we think of 9/11, it's the 2 World Trade Centers. Aside from the fact it was 4 airplanes, it was the Pentagon, and there was an enormous amount of other damage, including our country's psyche was really done. But the key symbol will always be the World Trade Center, because it's such a huge impact that they managed to really knock these 2 buildings out of the sky. The book fits in the category which is called artist books, and artist books are essentially attempts to show that books are not only verbal, that there's a visual component, and a very strong visual component. A book is a vessel, and a vessel contains information, contains pieces. So what I was thinking of, that the remnants of this disaster, they should be kept in a kind of an urn, in a vessel type form, and the book was the perfect format for that. So when you put the book together, you first build the tower, you build the monument, you build the tribute. When you're done, you deconstruct it, which is as part of the experience and as important as building it. And then the parts and the elements They rest in the format, they rest in the vessel, and then you have a chance to resurrect it and commemorate the victims from that point. You really read the book not in a horizontal form, but you build with it. You create the image by constructing it. And it's basically just a different direction. And the idea is that by being physically involved, by touching it, by being close to the images, rather than have a passive reaction to it, you feel a sense of really being part of it. And I think the taking down has the same effect as, being in that chaos and feeling that the thing collapses, comes down, and there's a kind of the whole book is really based on the idea that everything comes down from top, falls out of the sky. That's the title, Out of the Sky. Art is a healing tool in many ways because it's a very personal reaction to it, and I think the use of the book, I see it as such that it does give the person who works with it a kind of a vehicle to self-examine and to begin to heal scars. And as we have seen, the event has triggered tremendous stress for our society. Instead of bringing us together, which it did sort of momentarily for a short period of time, it became a divisive thing, partially because of the political abuse of it, and partially because it simply has different reactions in different people. And it will go on for quite a long time. Like what's happening in the Middle East and Iraq and Afghanistan is not going to go away. And it's all, in a way, a direct outgrowth of this event, and we witnessed.